So I wanted to do a top 10 good guys in Pinoy BL. So at this point, I'm only going to be including the possible choices would be Gameboy, Sakristan, Truly Very Yours, Hello Stranger, In Between, Kumusta Bro, Hookup, Amore, MyDay, Unexpected, Oh My Sexual, Safe Haven, Quaranthings, Boyband Love, Gaya sa Pelikula, 90 Days, My Extraordinary, Boys Lockdown, and Ben and Jim. So those are the choices for the top 10 good guys. So when I say good guys, these are legit good guys. Whatever your definition is of good guys, that would probably fit in this category. And you'll see why when I start talking. Number 10 is Xander from Hello Stranger. So Xander is played by Tony Labrusca. Xander at first glance is your stereotypical muscle jock who one would only think cares about himself. But as Hello Stranger progressed, we saw that he was constantly there for Miko. And it turned out that Miko, it was actually him who was on occasion turned out to be self-absorbed and actually got called out by his friends for it. Remember that episode? Xander, on the other hand, constantly sent out packages to Miko and expressed his care and gratitude in multiple small ways throughout the series. You would just see it in every episode. One of which, and one of the biggest ways, was the song that he wrote for Miko, which was a way for him to express his affection and thanks to Miko. But as we know, the song itself became a plot device when Miko misinterpreted it as for somebody else, and it kind of drove a wedge between them. Of course, as Xander shows his affection to Miko in micro gestures and he doesn't really know how to, make big gestures like that, he couldn't outright just tell Miko what he was feeling, and it took Miko some effort on his part for them to clear the air and realize they are both actually careening into each other. Number 9, Sky from MyDay. Sky is played by Miko Gallardo. Sky is extremely supportive of Ace even before they got together as boyfriend. Sky threw everything he had into participating in the cake competition, which he knew Ace's father was 100% expecting to win, and everything was on the line. It was actually a little unfair if you watch the episode how they were putting everything so much on a competition, and they treated it as a must that they should win when everybody knows that it's subjective and awards are given by people who may or may not cause you to win. I mean, you can totally lose in any kind of competition no matter how good you are, because there's just any number of factors, right? It's not a guarantee no matter how good you are that you would win. But when he only got first runner-up, he entirely blamed himself for what happened, aligning himself with the thought process that Ace and his father had in terms of expectations of having won. Sky also was at the forefront when he knew that Ace's dog Chuk Chuk went missing and led the search, even getting the flack for having lost the dog in the first place. But we all know how he had a presence of mind and everything. And when Chuk Chuk disappeared for a second time, he was also comforting Ace and everything. Although I was kind of waiting for a little more sense of urgency in that episode. But Sky is always there for Ace. Sky also bravely declared his love and support for Ace during his birthday ceremony in front of everyone. This was a big move if you read it from a story perspective, because as we see in the series, Ace, despite his wealth and affluence and influence, he's largely alone. He's by himself, and he's actually said that a few times in the series as well. So for someone to come up and say, "I am with you, we are together," that is such a big thing, and that to me makes Sky a good guy. Number 8, Makisig from In Between. Makisig is played by Lance Carr. Makisig is Ronin's secret boyfriend who lives in another region of the country. Throughout much of their relationship, Ronin hid Makisig from their friends. Ronin was head over heels in love with Makisig, sure, but he wasn't sure how the world would react. He even kept it from their friends. Ronin tended to kind of try to gauge what he would do based on how the relationship of his two other best friends, Taurus and Otep, played out. Makisig really badly wanted to make Ronan let his friends know about them, but never ever laid pressure on him to do so. In fact, he did on multiple occasions witness Ronan actually actively hiding their relationship, but he did his best not to lay it over Ronan's head. So he kind of just understood that Ronan needs a little bit of time to come out to his friends and say, yes, I have a boyfriend. Yes, I am part of the LGBTQ community. And that's just overall, to me, another good guy. Number 7, Gav from Gameboys, played by Kokoy De Santos. Now, Gav from the start has always been established as having it all in for Cairo. Gav has always been incredibly sensitive to Cairo and does his best at being there for him, even, randomly sending him care packages or pizza, and just always being available and being, always sensitive to Cairo's nuances. When he notices that something is off with Cairo, he immediately tries to address it. Gav has also repeatedly hinted that he will give way to what Cairo needs at any given moment. Now, Gav isn't just a good guy to Cairo, but also to Pearl. Pearl was his ex-girlfriend, remember that. But he came out to her in honesty and they ended up breaking up, managed to maintain best friend status ever since. Even helping her dad with their business. So that's literally something a best friend would do. And Pearl ended up helping Gav with Cairo as well. Gav is also a very forgiving type, realizing that his ex, Terrence, was ultimately alone at the end of their big blowout, and still opened up in conversation with him when he felt like Terrence needed somebody. Despite the everything that happened with Cairo in the past, he recognized that Terrence needed somebody to talk to, and he was there for him. Number 6, Jim from Ben and Jim. Jim is played by Jerome Ponce. I wanted to give Jim special mention because Jim can be rough around the edges and he hasn't quite adjusted to the fact that his friend Ben is gay. Or maybe he has, but he just doesn't know exactly how to talk to him. But you can see that he's really trying. It's just that he's so affected by this culture that he grew up in, this Filipino macho culture, that he tends to kind of be microaggressive. Automatically assuming that Ben is into him and using words that aren't necessarily right to refer to Ben. Coincidentally, though, he actually is right about Ben being into him. But, being straight and auto-assuming that your gay friends are into you, that's not a good thing. Just so happened that in this story, he happens to be right. That said, Jim is very much a true friend and comes straight to Ben's rescue the moment that he sees Ben being harassed by his ex, Leo. Sure, he may not be politically correct or whatever, but he literally risked appearing gay in front of Leo and claiming to be in a male-on-male relationship just to save his friend in that moment, which is a really big deal in this Filipino macho culture. So, to me, again, that's a good guy in my book. And what that tells me is that Jim is a good guy through and through, and he's willing to throw everything in the line for people he cares about. And it also tells me that in the trajectory of the story, what will possibly happen is Jimson will learn little things here and there about what it's like to be in the LGBTQA community through Ben's eyes and will become a better person out of it. Number 5, Carl from Gaya sa Pelikula, played by Paolo Pangilinan. While Carl is used to being by himself and not having too many friends, he said so himself, when circumstances bring him and Vlad together, his good guy senses activate. At first, he tries to be strong and leave Vlad out in the cold because of how arrogant he thought Vlad was, but inside, he felt guilty the whole time for not giving Vlad shelter when he needed it. He also reads into Vlad being alone on his birthday and mildly resenting Christmas, and surprises Vlad while he's sleeping. He swaps out all the Christmas decorations for party decorations. At the heart of everything, though, even if Carl tries to be tough on Vlad, in the end, his caring heart always kind of shines through, and that's why he's a good guy. Number 4, Ken from My Extraordinary. Ken has been established as a good guy early on in the series. By the way, Ken is played by Enzo Santiago. He befriends this strange new kid, Shake, and he falls into a friendship with him that becomes an innocent kind of love. The very first time that Ken and Shake meet was when Ken asked Shake to play basketball with him, and Shake gets harassed by a schoolmate, calling him gay and just, making fun of him for not knowing how to play basketball and everything, prompting Ken to feel protective of him and defending him, something that opens the door for a lot of other possibilities in terms of their relationship. Now, Ken has always been a mama's boy, and I mean that in the best sense of the word, and he's always talking about how his mom is going to be proud of him. He's always worried that his mom might think his mom might be disappointed. This always comes up in the earlier episodes, and it becomes truly heartbreaking when he realizes that his mom, who he loves so much, was not supportive of this new love that he found with Shake. This pure, innocent, clean love that he found with Shake. Now, in a rush to appease his mom, see, Ken and Shake were in their rest house somewhere else, and his mom says, "Go home. First thing in the morning, go home." In a rush to appease his mom, he drives home from the rest house really late with Shake from the trip and gets into a car accident because of how flustered he was. It made for a really gut-wrenching twist. And actually, we are at this point now in the series where technically Ken is, I would say, clinically dead because Sandy saw him. Very sad. Number 3, Terrence from Gameboys and Alt Gameboys. Terrence is played by Cal Villino, and as he says, hurt people hurt people. Some may be surprised that I put Terrence so high on this list, but bear with me here. Terrence himself suffered from a confusing breakup with Gap. A lot of the details actually just came out in the very, very last episode of Gameboys, which was technically a spin-off, which was Alt Gameboys, where the details of that breakup were revealed. Terrence himself suffered from that breakup, and he tried to win Gap back. And as you know, no one is really a villain in their own story, right? Eventually, he realized the damage that he was causing to Gavril and Cairo's relationship, and we start seeing him back down. Stepping back though, we see how truly alone he is without Gav, and even in Alt Gameboys, the episode that was almost entirely Terrence-centric, we saw how sad his life had become and how lonely he is. Terrence still, however, did his best to help Cairo and Gavril with their relationship problem at Pearl's request, despite the risk of being painted as the bad guy by Cairo, which actually did happen. Terrence understands why though, and he continues to support the two and advises Gab without a second thought for the fact that he's lonely and, without trying to damage the relationship even further. And to me, underneath it all, while Terrence was the bad guy in the earlier episodes, he's very much a good guy now in my book. Number 2, Rocky of Quaranthings. Rocky is played by Royce Cabrera. Rocky is such an interesting character because at first glance, if you were being stereotypical and everything, he's the macho straight Pinoy boy who you'd never even think would be a lead in a BL. But Rocky is actually smarter than he looks. He understands everything that Jude is saying despite his conyo or slightly highbrow approach to things. And he makes it clear that he's not homophobic. He also listens to the entirety of Judah's story and understands the pain he went through with his family. Despite needing a lot of money to support his family, Rocky attempts to return the money that Judah's grandmother sends to him. But when he fails, he buys stuff for Judah on his behalf instead. Coming off their first sexual encounter though, Rocky detaches and makes plans to leave the house, only to completely abandon said plans when he realizes that Judah is gravely sick and starts taking care of him, knowing that nobody else is going to do that. And, that's just top tier good guy behavior right there. Rocky also personally acknowledges to Judah that his sexual preference might be changing and he might indeed be bisexual, despite Judah seemingly brushing this off. So again, this is one of those things that I was sensitive about in my previous review. I don't like it when bisexuality is erased, and I actually am really appreciating that Rocky is opening up his heart to the possibility of sexuality being fluid for him. Number 1, can you guess who it is? Because I feel like a lot of the guesses have already been given. So I'm going to ask you now who your top 1 is. Mention it in the comments. Tell me who your top 1 good guy in your personal lists would be. But for me, number 1 is Orion from In Between. Orion is played by Kim Sun-tan. Orion becomes part of the gang sometime during the year that Otep left for the United States during the series, being a co-worker of Taurus, and then he becomes a good friend to Tao and trusted by the rest of the gang. This is evident in the later episodes. However, we the audience are kind of watching it from the point of view of Otep, so we're like, who's this guy? I thought the squad was just made up of these people. As far as we're concerned, because we're viewing it from the point of view of Otep, Orion is new to the picture and is kind of suspicious, right? But actually, things are not what they seem. Tao arranges for him and Otep to take a few days off at Orion's uncle's resort. Otep gets a little bit suspicious because Tao keeps meeting up with Orion, and Orion keeps asking Otep questions, usually of the romantic inclination. And it's revealed that Tao had actually been in cahoots with Orion to plan a surprise proposal/wedding ceremony at the resort, and all of the secret time that Orion and Tao had been sparing together was to make arrangements, with Orion asking questions to make it a better experience for the couple. He also introduces an important metaphor to the in-between mythos, which is the penguin's pebble, which he shares with both Tao and Otep on separate occasions, meaning that the penguin will find the best pebble it could to give to the one it will love forever. It turns out that Orion had his own pebble because he too was in love with Taurus. But unlike in other BL tropes where the third guy would be considered a threat for the show, even Otep realizes eventually that he is so pure that he is no threat to the couple, and everything he does is to give Tao the best life possible despite being truly in love with Tao. I think this might be the very first time we are seeing anything like this in BLs, and Orion, to me, is a treasure. If you like me doing more of these top 10 BL lists, give this video a like. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified of more BL reaction videos and lists just like that. See, I'm hearing people giving me notifications right now. Till next time, peace out. Now, if you like... Babe, tinatawag ka ni Mike. Babe! Babe! Tawag ka ni Mike.
Okay, wait. Maghugas muna ako kamay.
Okay. If you like me doing more of these